93 million miles from Earth, the surface of the sun pumps out vast amounts of heat and light into space. Occasionally, huge explosions throw out much more than this. These are solar storms. When these storms hit Earth, they have little effect on living things, but the vast global network that supports our lives can act as a conductor, channeling the destructive energy of the storm and knocking out all electrical power. New York, like the rest of the world, takes technology for granted. Its lifeblood is electricity, and it uses vast amounts of it. 2 or 3 days without it is a nuisance, but months or years is unthinkable.
The loss of power in a massive scale thrusts us back to an era before technology, at a time when we're entirely dependent on it.
The global economy, health systems, communications, and essentials like light and heat would all collapse if, as scientists predict, the Earth is hit by the perfect solar storm.
We just got another 911 about a disturbance in the cemetery. I needed to make a progress report on that. All officers...
It will start with a mysterious object from space, crashing through the atmosphere at 18,000 miles per hour.
Anybody seen that? Did you guys see what I saw? Guys.
Requesting the patrol supervisor and the fire department to respond to an unknown object. Something really weird is going on here.
But this is only a warning of what is to come. Solar storms are nothing new. Several hit Earth every year. Most are completely harmless, bringing us the northern and southern lights. But our increasing reliance on technology makes us more susceptible to the damage the big ones can cause.
In most natural disasters, it's usually the less developed areas that suffer the biggest impacts. There's a big irony with space weather or geomagnetic storms. It's our sophisticated technology systems that has created this big antenna that couples so well to the space environment, and ends up being our undoing.
In 1989, this weakness became painfully evident when the people of Quebec, Canada, were hit by a solar storm.
They went from normal operating conditions to complete blackout of 6 million people in about 90 seconds.
The storm only affected the far north. When the power went out, the accidents increased. With no light and no heat and temperatures just above freezing, Quebec was lucky it only lasted 9 hours. If the right conditions were to align, the perfect storm will be 3 times as powerful. For the citizens of New York, unaware of the danger out in space, today is just another day.
Hey, I'm Peter Wright from Brooklyn Power. Here to check on your power outage. You called it in?
Tally. Well, the thing was on fire. Almost killed me. But what is it?
I don't know. Looks like a satellite. Any chance you got anything you can throw over it?
You mean for like a dead body?
Well, it goes with the neighborhood. You don't want the media to get a look at this yet either.
Okay, I'll see what I got.
This smoldering wreckage is the result of a chain of events that started during a period of increased activity on the surface of the sun, called the solar maximum.
Looking at the perfect solar storm, we have to start with the right conditions. The sun is a magnetic variable star. It goes through a 22-year magnetic cycle with intense sunspots being strongest every 11 years. During the solar cycle maximum, there's a much larger chance for there being massive solar storms.
The Earth has been under bombardment from the sun for over a week now. The upper atmosphere has become so electrically charged that anything orbiting above it is in danger.
This swelling, this heating of the Earth's atmosphere takes place at all longitudes at the same time as these currents circle the Earth. So satellite orbits, all of them, all satellites that are in low Earth orbit can be impacted by this solar storm.
The atmosphere is now so swollen that it rises into the path of satellites, upsetting their orbit and causing them to rocket back to Earth.
Good morning, New York. It's another sunny day on this November morning.
As the rest of New York wakes up, the significance of these events will be hard for city emergency managers to assess.
So we can confirm that this thing's a satellite, right?
Yes, sir. We've been tracking it for some time here at NORAD.
Yeah, well, can somebody tell me why we're having satellites crashing out of the sky?
Yeah, the sun's building up to something really big, and it's throwing lots of stuff our way. Anything in low Earth orbit is going to be vulnerable right now.
All right. I'm heading to the cemetery now to check it out. Thanks for the info.
Okay.
The people monitoring the sun are from NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. At their Space Environment Center in Colorado, they have been keeping a watch out for unusual space weather since 1965. The moment they spot trouble, they issue warnings to everyone from satellite operators to the military. High on the priority list for space weather warnings are local power stations.
All on level 1, station supervisor.
Tara Bradshaw, Systems Control.
Hey, Tara, it's Peter.
Peter, thank God. I just got something from NOAA. There's been a nasty solar storm, and there's more heading in our direction.
Yeah, I've been trying to get through to you for the past half hour. It's probably the reason why the cell phone networks are acting up. Listen, it was a satellite that blew out the power here. Do you have any more information on the storm?
Nothing specific, but reading between the lines, I'd say NOAA's excited about something.
Could you do me a favor and have that data sent to my phone?
Sure.
Could you also send a repair crew out here, and I'll call you back?
You got it, boss.
All right, bye.
Perfect Disaster returns after this. An unusually strong storm on the sun has begun to affect life on Earth. Normal solar activity is rarely felt, as the Earth protects us with its own magnetic field, the magnetosphere. But this has a limit.
During one of these strong magnetic storms, that hammer-like blast strips part of the Earth's magnetic field back, compresses it, leaving us very little remaining shield.
The right conditions are coming together for a perfect solar storm. First, the week-long bombardment due to the solar maximum has left our protective shield highly vulnerable. Now, a sunspot bigger than Jupiter erupts on the sun's surface, unleashing a billion-ton electrified gas cloud, a coronal mass ejection, or CME. This is the big one, and it is heading for Earth.
Lewis Parker, this must be serious. Why would a man in your position be visiting a cemetery at this particular time? What's going on, Mr. Parker?
I'm sorry, I'm Peter Wright from Brooklyn Power. Actually, it's just a blown power line. It's just routine stuff. We'll have your power back up soon.
Well, there you have it. But I do thank you folks for stopping by and being interested this morning.
move along.
And I thank you. I owe you one. Lewis Parker, City Office, Emergency Management.
Well, I thought it was best not to say anything until, well, you guys check it out.
How long before we get power back up in this area?
Well, it won't take long to have the power up and running, but you better come take a look at this.
As the massive CME gas cloud travels through space, it can take anywhere between 12 hours and several days before we feel its impact on Earth. On hand to capture its passing is the SOHO satellite, with a sensitive instrument called a coronagraph on board.
The SOHO satellite has telescopes monitoring the outer atmosphere of the sun. SOHO sees CMEs lifting off from the surface of the sun, headed towards the Earth.
But there's a problem. There is no way of knowing how fast the CME is traveling.
We can't track them between the sun and the Earth. We're only guessing. We're only hoping that it won't be as bad as it could be.
So what would a power station guy say about today's activities?
It could get a lot worse if the information from NOAA and the satellite sticks.
How much worse?
Well, look, some CMEs usually bounce off the magnetosphere, right? But not all of them do. If they're big enough, they can get through. One day we're going to get hit by beauty, and when we do, it's going to knock out the entire electrical system.
Are you saying all of New York could be blacked out?
Not just New York, every major city on Earth. It's going to last for weeks, months, years. No electricity, imagine that. It'd be like winding the clocks back hundreds of years.
This is my direct line. You get more information, give me a call, will you?
More trouble?
Let's just say we need to stay in contact. Things are definitely far from normal.
Sorry to wake you. Lewis Parker's here to see you.
I'll be there in a moment.
I'm sorry I tried calling, but I went straight into your voicemail.
What is it, Lewis?
We have a situation. Apparently something fell from the sky and knocked out power in a cemetery in Brooklyn.
You're waking me up because of a power shortage in the cemetery?
I'm afraid it's something worse. We have a plane headed for New York, and we've lost contact with it. Now, it looks like both events are related, and they could get worse. I'm in contact with FAA, DOD. All updates are coming straight to me.
All right. I'm going to get ready. Wait here for me.
This ultimate solar storm won't hit all at once. It will strike in stages. The first part of the storm, the solar flare, is moving way ahead of the CME. It takes just 8 minutes to get here. Commercial airliners are now in extreme danger, as X-rays within the flare can wipe out radio communications on any plane flying in its path. Following quickly afterwards, just 8 minutes behind the solar flare, is stage 2. This is called the radiation storm. This will cause more serious problems.
This is real radiation. These do radiation damage. They stream into the upper atmosphere. Electronics can be fried by these high-energy protons.
Down on the ground, we're shielded from the worst of the radiation storm by the combined forces of the magnetosphere and atmosphere. But anyone caught outside this defensive barrier, like astronauts, has only a few minutes to get to safety, or they will get hit with a high dose of radiation. Traveling at 2,000 miles per second, the final stage of the perfect solar storm is the massive billion-ton electrified gas cloud, the CME.
CMEs blasting out from the sun carry the solar magnetic field with them. They're a supersonic solar hammer streaming through space, which then impacts the outer regions of the Earth's magnetic field.
But the CME's impact is highly unpredictable, and for emergency managers, a deadly variable.
a look at this. It's the latest information from satellite.
One for station supervisor.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. The CME left the sun at the highest speeds I've ever seen. And the solar flare that came before that was huge.
Could it affect the grid?
Who knows? Nobody's ever seen anything like this before. You know what? This could be it.
What?
It could be global.
Call on level 1 for station supervisor. Call on level 1.
This is powerful. Oh, it's coming at us real fast. My best guess is it's going to hit us in less than 12 hours.
That's at 7 tonight.
I gotta call Lewis. Do me a favor and get this guy on the phone.
The Earth has now been hit by the first 2 stages of the storm, and the plane heading to New York is in real jeopardy. The solar flare has knocked out its communications, and the solar radiation has damaged the electronics, causing 2 of the engines to fail. The solar radiation is also now beginning to have an effect down on the ground. Global positioning satellites have revolutionized navigation, but they will become one of the many casualties of the solar storm's overloading electrical circuits and bending signals. If you're in a car and dependent on satellite navigation, this will be inconvenient. But for pilots trying to land a passenger jet in low visibility, the accuracy of this technology is critical. Now only a few minutes away from New York, the plane's navigation system and 2 engines are still not working.
Should we make copies of all this before things?
Data's indicating the storm's moving fast, but we need more than this. I've got a team working on getting us updates ASAP.
Okay, good.
Ah, Mayor. Mr. Parker?
Mr. Cross.
How are you, David?
Well, tell you the truth, I've been better. So what's the plan here? Do we have a strategy in place or not?
There's a sad truth here, which is that we're never going to be fully prepared for any kind of major catastrophic event. So what we want to do is get to a point where we would be able to protect as many people as possible. But I don't think we want to make anybody feel that the expectation is perfection, because we won't be able to get there.
Okay, everyone. We all know our jobs, but communicating with each other is going to be critical.
It's Peter Wright. He wants to talk to you.
Hello?
Madam Mayor, if the transformers are damaged, we're going to be out of power for a lot longer than a few days.
It takes months to replace them, even years.
What do you suggest we do about this?
Yeah, there is something we can do, but you're not going to like it.
City emergency managers are trained for most eventualities, but this one will test them to the limit.
Well, Mr. Wright, I strongly suggest that you get over here so we can discuss this fully in person. Thank you.
One of the most accurate sources of information that will be available to the mayor will come from the ACE satellite. Launched back in 1997 by NASA, ACE, now positioned directly between the Earth and the Sun, is designed to predict just how powerful a solar storm can be.
The ACE satellite monitors the various parameters of the solar wind: magnetic field strength, magnetic orientation. These are essential for predicting the strength of the impact of any solar event on Earth.